Rebel Force Radio presents
Star Wars Cantina.
Where are you going, Master?
For a drink.
Sorry about the mess.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
All right, Matt.
Thank you for having me.
I do want to set the stage just a little bit for the folks that are listening.
Yeah, let's do that.
You, right now, I'm talking to you at your aunt's house.
At my aunt's house, brand new house, yeah.
And beautiful house in Northeast Ohio. We'll say that so we don't get your family mobbed, you know. I don't let people know where I live either. But, no, thank you for letting me ruin your Memorial Day weekend. And,
hey, no, I wanted to do this. I know you guys are big fans, and you know, once I realized that you guys were up here in this part of the town, I was thinking, hey, this is going to be perfect. So.
Yeah, usually we have to go. I mean, my gosh, we went all the way out to Japan to talk to Mark Hamill. Wow. We went out to L.A., you know, to talk to various Star Wars celebs. This is the first time I've ever literally,
yeah,
like 20 minutes. Yeah, you came to us, right?
I called you. Hey, can you interview me?
Well, let's talk about the movie. Of course, Matt Lanter, the voice of Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars, in the film and the subsequent series. Matt, the movie is out. It's been out for a few weeks.
Yep.
Critics have spoken. Fans have spoken. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts? Are you happy with how things have turned out so far? Or?
Well, I'm definitely happy with the way things turned out. I mean, that was the first time I had gotten to see the film, you know, all put together. And you know, after working on it for, I don't even know how long, 2 years, you know, had to be so secretive about it. I couldn't tell my own mom what was going on. You know, I said, I'm doing a Star Wars animation, and that's about all I could say. So to get it out and to have some fan reaction, you know, is great. And you know, I know there's a few negative critics and stuff, but come on, you know, we didn't do it for the critics. We did it for the fans, and I think from what I've seen, it's been pretty positive. People seem to like it.
Yeah,
and we're all, you know, just thrilled to be a part of it and working on it, and we're having a good time.
Critics have never liked Star Wars. I mean, you're around the ranch. Just ask George.
You know, that's what I'd heard.
George has a T-shirt that talks about the fact that critics have always hated it.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
You know, I was born in '83, so I didn't grow up, you know, when the originals came out. But somebody told me that critics were kind of down on those too. I mean,
yeah, they were. You know, a lot of critics, they try to be revisionists, you know, where they go, oh, we always loved Star Wars, you know, and when the special editions came out, a lot of mainstream critics had a chance to revisit the films and kind of rewrite their reviews. But it's certainly one of those. All of the films are such that I think the critics all wish they had been kinder to it, because had they known that it was going to be such a phenomenon. Yeah. Kind of like, you know, Star Trek, you know, would the network have actually canceled it if they would have known what it was going to become? That's right. So you were talking about being born in '83. Let's talk a little bit about you as a Star Wars fan. Mm-hmm. Were you a fan before you got involved?
I wasn't really a fan. I had seen the movies kind of like everyone else. You know, I had seen them. I think I rented all the prequels one day when I was in my room when I was younger and just watched them, and I was like, oh, cool. You know, but when I got this job, man, that's when I kind of dove back into it and really understood. I was kind of young when I watched them, and I got to tell you, I'm hooked. I'm absolutely hooked.
Yeah, you got the disease now?
I've got the disease. I'm geeking out. I'm collecting figures now. It's bad. I've got a 2-foot little plush Yoda in my office downstairs, and my girlfriend, you know, she's kind of wants to be careful that I don't, you know, geek out too hard.
Right,
my whole office.
That's right. Well, yeah. My wife puts up with all kinds of stuff.
Oh, yeah?
So it affects everybody in the family. And, of course, having someone in the family that is a big part now. I mean, you're the guy. I mean, as far as the Clone Wars is concerned, you're the guy. So you weren't necessarily a fan, but when you got the job, it inspired you to go back and check it out.
Oh, yeah.
And what was different? I mean, obviously you had the job, but I mean, what did you notice about the films that maybe had never really stuck with you as a younger kid?
You know, just the detail of the universe that George created, and you know, all the characters and the landscapes, and you know, there's you have your love story, you have your action, you know, you have your comedy, you have your sarcasm, and Han Solo. I mean, it's all there.
Yeah.
And to have, you know, 6 films and now 7 that span this whole saga, and we've got the upcoming series, it's just so cool to be able to explore that universe.
Right. Well, talk about how you got the gig and how long this is. You said the movie itself was in development for 2 years.
Well, Well, I got the gig. It was a normal audition. I was sent into my voiceover into the audition by my voiceover agent, and they said it's a Star Wars film. You're going in for Deke Starkiller. I said, oh, okay.
Now we talked about. I got to tell you, we talked about this on the show a few weeks back.
Did you?
Because we saw the story about your. Well, there was something on the web about your audition and what you were told.
Yeah.
And it just cracks us up because George and the whole history of when they were making Return of the Jedi and they called it Blue Harvest, and he always comes up with these ridiculous names to kind of throw people off. Yeah. But you hear them and it's like it's got to be a Star Wars project.
Well,
did you know it was Star Wars?
Well, I knew it was Star Wars.
You knew it was Star Wars, but they gave you the bogus name.
Animation. They said Deke Starkiller, and I had no idea who that was, and so I went and tried to Google it because I was like, okay, I'm gonna get one up on this audition. I'm gonna see what this is, and I'm gonna go in there and knock it out. And
right.
I couldn't find anything. I found a name or two, and I couldn't find. I said, "Oh boy, okay, I'll just go in there and see what they give me,
right.
and whatever." So I went in there, and if I remember correctly, Catherine was there. Catherine Winder, Dave was there, Dave Filoni, and they were behind the glass, and they said, "Here's the sides. It's a little combination of Han Solo and Luke." I said, "Okay,
right."
So I gave it what I gave it, and they seemed to like it.
Had you brushed up on your Star Wars at that point? Well, when they said a combination of Luke and Han, did you have an idea of what they meant?
I think I did. I mean, gosh, I don't even know. I mean, knowing what I know now, I would know. Oh, exactly. That's exactly how they want it.
Right, right.
I think it was a little coincidental that was what evidently they did want. So.
Right.
But yeah, and then they called me. I don't know if it was a couple days later. They said, you got the job. Mm-hmm. By the way, it's Anakin Skywalker, and
wow,
and you're him. So
no,
it's pretty big.
It's huge. It's huge, and it's funny. I mean, they obviously didn't want you to know who you were auditioning for, which is kind of curious. Next time we get Dave on the phone or on the show, we're gonna have to ask him because I'm kind of curious about why that is.
Well.
Did they tell you why they were secretive about it?
They didn't tell me why. In my opinion, and I'm guessing this is why, is because they, obviously you've heard the movie and you've heard the way that we're kind of doing Anakin.
Right.
And he's a little bit different than how Anakin was portrayed in the films.
Right.
So I think that they did not want to say Anakin because they didn't want to give anybody a preconceived notion of how to come in and play it.
Right.
They wanted to find something new.
Okay.
And so I think that's why they didn't say Anakin.
Because you've ripped into your Hayden Christensen impression, right? And
well,
wind it up.
We're not really trying to do Hayden, and I think kind of, that's a preconceived kind of notion about the films is that they did something dark, and Hayden did a really great performance that was this, dark and brooding spiral to the dark side of the Force, and we wanted to really show Anakin as a true hero. He's the chosen one,
right?
And we kept hearing that he was this great warrior and this great pilot and the hero of the Republic, and we never really got to see it. Mm-hmm. So I think we're getting to see that now.
Right.
And, I guess they kind of wanted to go that direction with it.
Okay, now, when you got the gig and you knew it was Anakin, you knew it was Star Wars and it was animation, did you go back and look at the Tartakovsky series, the micro series?
Oh, yeah.
So you were able to check that out?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I've got it in my iTunes. I was watching some of that. And, even in that one, Anakin is more along the lines where he was in the films.
Right. I mean, it's really a dead-on impersonation. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're kind of doing our own thing, and I'm kind of putting my own flavor into it, and we're kind of making Anakin this likable hero. So.
Thank goodness for that. All right, you are actually the sixth actor. I don't know if you even bothered to count these up. The sixth actor to play Anakin Skywalker or Darth Vader.
Oh yeah.
It starts with Jake Lloyd, and then we have Hayden Christensen and James Earl Jones, Dave Prowse. Mm-hmm. And Sebastian Shaw, who is now erased from Star Wars history because they put... Well, no, he's not. I take that back. He's still the charred old Anakin / Vader at the end of Return of the Jedi.
I was going to ask you now, who's Sebastian? You have to forgive me here.
That's okay.
I'm still learning my way through
That's
this.
okay. I'll take you to school. That's all right. That's no problem. And then, of course, when the special editions came, or the DVDs came out, they erased Sebastian Shaw at the end of Return of the Jedi and threw in Hayden Christensen when Obi-Wan and Yoda and Anakin come back as spirits. Right. So it's quite a legacy, this character. I mean, it spans all these different actors with all these different takes. If you look at somebody like Dave Prowse, all he had to act with was his body. In your case, you can't act with your body.
Yeah.
You act with your voice. So what are some things that you draw from? Are you still looking at reference from the films at all? Or at this point, are you pretty much, you've got Anakin down, he's your Anakin, you don't look at the other guys?
I mean, again, not really trying to copy anything that was done in the film. So I've watched those and obviously taken note of, kind of that brooding side of Anakin that we obviously he goes to. We all know that. But I mean, really now it's just kind of my Anakin, Dave and I and George and Catherine, George, as a matter of fact, kind of had a conversation with me when I went up to Skywalker Ranch and kind of told me where this new Anakin was going. And so, he's mine now. I kind of know him. I kind of know how to play him. And of course we get in there, in the sound booth and we play around with certain things and that sort of thing. But
did George bring up the films at all? Did he say, now here's an example of how he is at this point, and this is not really where we're going? Did he use the films as
No, it was
any
actually,
kind of direction?
It was short and sweet. I went up there and met him, and I walked in, and this is big for me. He said, "Anakin," and so when George Lucas calls you Anakin, and that's his thing, that's his baby. So
that had to feel good. Yeah,
that was an amazing thing. Yeah, but. It was short and sweet. He kind of wanted some comedy out of it, and how Han and Princess Leia kind of have that banter back and forth, and that sarcastic, and Obi-Wan and Anakin a little bit. We see a little bit of it, and I know they wanted to expand on that.
Right.
And so we kind of wanted to do a little sarcasm, a little comedy, and kind of put those elements in there.
Well, very cool. Now, I remember reading an interview with Hayden Christensen when he was he got the gig for episode 2, and he was talking about he's the connective tissue between Jake Lloyd and Vader, and as you see him in episode 4, you're kind of like the connective tissue between the Anakin of episode 2 and the Anakin of episode 3.
Yeah, definitely.
Talk a little bit about Anakin at that time.
Yeah, well, as like you said, this Anakin, the Clone Wars falls in between episode 2 and 3, where Anakin is, he's trained. He is commanding, the Jedi gunships, and he's leading his own missions. But he's not quite a Jedi Master yet. Which I guess there's some argument. How can you have a Padawan with being a master, all that sort of thing? But
because George says so.
Yeah, well, and that's bottom line, right?
Oh, it is. It is.
Yeah.
So like it or not, that's the way it is.
That's right. So we're planning on going. I believe I heard George say for 100 episodes, which I guess is 5 years or so TV time, and they are wanting to basically connect episode 2 and 3, and we're going to see some flashes of the dark side in this Anakin every now and then, because. Like I said, he obviously eventually goes there.
Right.
But the Clone Wars, I think from the very get-go, from A New Hope, they mentioned Clone Wars. And I think it's been something that, everyone has kind of wondered, what is that? What was that time? That sounds interesting.
Yes.
And so this is, it's a great opportunity for them to explain some of the stories and for George to tell some of the stories that happened in this time. And Anakin was front and center, but there's a lot of other characters in there too, so...
Well, what because it's interesting that it seems to be the trend with TV shows that when they start, if you look at Lost, Heroes, and I could be wrong, but it seems like they're sort of American television is looking to British TV where they don't run for years and years and years and years, and you never know. Like let's take a show like Friends. It just kind of ran its course over time. It seems like they have defined arcs now, particularly with either hour-long dramatic series. And when George and Dave talking about how this was going to go 100 episodes, roughly, 5 years, do you get a sense that there is a real defined beginning and ending point with this?
Well, I think I definitely feel that because we know there is, and we know where it picks up, and we know where it ends. So I guess in that sense, yes. But we're in season 2 right now. We're recording season 2. So right now we're just telling stories and sharing some of these story arcs that are happening in the Clone Wars. But right now, we're just kind of trucking along and having fun. And I guess, I'm trying to think here because I don't want to give away too much what's going on. Or
you see how I do that? I ask these questions.
Yeah. I got your number, buddy. No, but we're trucking along, having a good time. And like I said, there are flashes of the dark side, and we all know where that goes.
Of course. So the boat sinks in the end. We know.
There's a beginning, there's an end. So,
right. Okay. All right. Now, what I've been curious about from the beginning is it seems as though, I know they've mentioned that you'd have maybe 2 or 3 episodes that have the same storyline.
Yeah.
But from episode to episode to episode, is there a sense of a chronology here where you might see something in season 2 that reflects back to an event in season 1? Are they tied together at all, or do they pretty much happen just in isolation?
They are not in isolation. Some of them are, and some of them aren't. Some of them do go in arcs.
Okay.
And, like I said, I'm trying to think back here. We've recorded so many, it's all a blur. We record out of order, and so, we jump around, it's crazy. But, I believe there are references back to, things that have happened in season 1. Or even earlier episodes, or, 4 episodes prior.
Right.
But yes, there definitely are arcs, and there definitely are isolated ones. Mm-hmm. And there are some, which might not even feature Anakin, that we focus more on the clones, or, that we focus on...
we won't watch those ones.
And you won't watch those ones, because it's all about Anakin.
Right.
But yeah, there's some really cool stories.
Well, you joke about it being, all about Anakin. For a lot of fans, it really is. But let's talk about some of the other characters. I mean, first of all, Ahsoka. Of course, your Padawan.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that relationship, and if you want, we've actually had Ashley on the program,
right?
Who does the voice of Ahsoka?
Yeah.
Really, really nice girl. So, how do you see the Anakin Ahsoka relationship?
Anakin and Ahsoka is very brother sister. I believe I heard Ashley say that, and that really put that's the nail on the head there. It's brother and sister argue, but they love each other. Anakin and Ahsoka help to kind of, I believe, round each other out. I think we're going to see, in the film, Yoda had said something about, we'll see if this, Anakin can have a Padawan, basically.
Right.
If he can endure that. Mm-hmm. So I think they're going to round each other out in a way. She comes in and is very feisty, and he has to teach her. And of course, Anakin is very spur of the moment. He's very kind of naive, and I think he's going to pass that along to his Padawan. Even in the film, she was very ready. She's very eager to jump in, just like Anakin.
Yes,
and and then you have Obi-Wan, who is kind of the opposite, and kind of the he's the brains, I guess you should say. But so Ahsoka's a little bit of mix of that, and I think it's great that Anakin has this Padawan now to kind of put his values and his and his excitement into, and they make a great team.
They definitely do. There was a review of the film that really made me laugh, because the writer was talking about just how wonderful it is to see such a great romantic relationship between 2 Star Wars characters like Ahsoka and Anakin. I'm reading this and I'm like, if this isn't proof,
you missed it.
Well, and I clearly, that's the critics. They don't know Star Wars. Some of them do, some of them don't, but the majority of them don't. And I like, then when Ashley said, well, they're more like brother and sister. Well, so Luke and Leia were actually brother and sister, it got a little romantic there from time to time. But
it did.
I think, really, Matt, that I think you could take it as a compliment, because there is really good chemistry there, and but I even got hints of maybe in the movie, which is all that I've seen. Maybe a little bit of a crush. It does kind of come across that way, and but I'm sure as the relationship builds, it becomes more like that brother-sister. But it's clear that she really idolizes Anakin.
Well, I can definitely see why people think that could be a possibility.
Yeah.
She's I believe she's 14 in this, and I could see why people might think that. I can tell you though, as of right now, They're very brother sister. Well, Anakin is very into Padme. You know?
Yeah, clearly.
So we don't want to have any love triangles here.
Right. He makes a lot of decisions based on how he is of Padme. So that's why the critic, I thought, well, rent episode 3, sir.
No, but I mean, as you see, yeah, that's right. As you see the series go on, I think it'll be clearly defined, I'm sure. But you're right. She does. She idolizes him, and I guess you could read that supposedly as a crush, but it's more of an idolization. Mm-hmm. He is the hero. He's the chosen one. He's this ultimate warrior, and she's like this little sister wanting to monkey see, monkey do. And,
right.
I could see why.
Well, we did a program a few weeks back. What we're trying to do here on the show is, with every episode, we were going to do a little roundtable discussion where we get staff members and hopefully we get some folks involved in the actual TV show to talk about it. But we talked about the movie, and Jimmy Mack mentioned that this is the first time that we've actually seen Anakin from the perspective of somebody underneath him, looking up to him. Mm-hmm. We've always seen Anakin either as a little kid or he's being admonished or scolded by the older elder Jedi.
Elder Council, yeah.
Yeah, so this is really, through Ahsoka's eyes, I think, an opportunity to see the Anakin of legend, or of what we had always kind of hoped that he would be.
Yeah.
And I said,
that we'd always heard he was.
Right.
And never really got to see it, yeah.
Right. And I said to Dave Filoni, and I said the same thing to Ashley, and finally I get to say it to you as a Star Wars fan. Thank you for allowing fans, me, to really like and enjoy Anakin. We've wanted to like Anakin for a long time.
Yeah.
And for my money, and from where I sit, this is the first time I've really said, wow, Anakin is exactly what I'd hoped he'd always been.
Well, thanks. I mean, what Dave and Catherine and George came up with was a really great thing, and we had talked about that kind of before it came out. We were like, either people are going to really like this or just not like it at all because it doesn't match,
Uh-huh.
But I think it's been really positive, and like you said, I think a lot of people want to like Anakin, and just kind of never really get an opportunity to with the films, and I think here we really do, and we really get to see him, like you said, through a child's eyes, and how he is this amazing warrior, and big brother. So yeah, it's a cool thing, and I'm happy to be a part of it, and man, just so proud to be the one that's actually bringing this Anakin to life, in the sound booth.
Talk a little bit about Obi-Wan and Anakin and Obi-Wan at this time.
Obi-Wan and Anakin at this point in the Clone Wars are very, I guess, in a way, brotherly. They're very friendly. They're very, I believe that they're on the same level now as far as skill and you'll hear a lot of the sarcasm and the fun banter between two great friends, almost like two brothers. Anakin, of course, is the brash, kind of naive, and makes the impulsive decisions, and Obi-Wan is the one that thinks things through. So to have that kind of balance is really fun.
Yeah, and the gentleman that does his voice, I'm sorry, his name is
James
escaping
Arnold
me.
Taylor.
Brilliant job.
Very
brilliant job.
Good.
And of course, we remember him from, he was actually in did the voice of Obi-Wan for the Tartakovsky series.
That's right.
So just a spot on Ewan McGregor, and I mean that as a compliment, not like he's, but he also brings his own sense of timing and everything into it, I'm sure. But,
definitely. James is, all these guys that I work with are so talented, from Ashley to James to Dee, who does the clones, just to everyone else. I could go down the list. But, it's very important for Anakin and Obi-Wan to have that interaction. And, what's cool about James is he's a nice guy. We get along great, and we joke around, and in some sense, I guess we kind of have that outside of the booth too. So it's really cool to be able to bring that in and use that.
Right. I'm sure that helps.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, your arch nemesis, Count Dooku.
Yeah.
All right. Now, there were some fans that thought that the fact that you met Anakin and Dooku meets in the Clone Wars movie, and we're probably assuming that that's not the only time they're going to meet throughout the series. I don't want you to give it away. I don't want you to get in trouble. But some fans thought that perhaps it diminished the final battle, let's call it, in Episode 3.
Yeah.
When they meet again. Do you think that it adds to it, or do you think that it diminishes it? Do you see where the fans are coming from there?
Well, I guess I could see where the fans are coming from. I mean, people love the film so much that the films are concrete, and they're already done. So, in my personal opinion, I think it heightens it.
Okay.
Because we'll get to, see several times where, they clash.
Right.
Which only makes to, I guess if you want to say build the hatred, the anger even more.
Well, he chops the guy's hands and head off, so
yeah.
He's pretty ticked.
Yeah, and I mean, I think to have that arc, to the build is a good thing in my opinion.
Right. I have my own theory about where that's going.
Yeah,
I do. Well, I guess you can laugh, but I was trying to think about Anakin's, him going to the dark side, and what could really make Anakin hate Dooku that much. I think he's going to whack Ahsoka, but
okay,
only
all right.
Maybe maybe you don't.
Maybe I do.
All right. We were talking about Padme a little bit earlier. We didn't see a whole lot of Anakin and Padme. We saw really Anakin looking at a hologram of Padme, and of course there was definitely
a nice little look there.
There was a look there. Yeah, good work.
Yeah, we're starting on that one.
So we've seen them kind of like we've seen Anakin. We've seen the episode 2 Anakin. We've seen the episode 3 Anakin. We've seen Anakin and Padme falling in love, and then we saw the boat sinking, as we called it, falling out of love, in a way. And we haven't seen anything in between. Are we going to see some things in between?
Definitely. And again, without giving too much away about the series, I can tell you that Padme is there. And there are some episodes that there's a lot of Anakin and Padme.
Oh,
so
very cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
You might get to see some development of that relationship. That's what's great about the series, is that we have 5 years, 100 episodes to develop these characters, and even the characters that we think we know, we'll get to develop even more.
Right.
And then, some of the characters that we don't see. I know Dave is a Plo Koon is his guy, so we'll get to see a little bit of him. And,
right.
And I think it's a really, really cool thing to be able to have this time to kind of, dig even deeper into these characters.
I've heard Plo Koon speak now for the first time.
Have you heard it?
Well, right before I came over here, I got an email that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
you're on the ends, huh?
The one of the commercials for on the Cartoon Network.
Oh, really?
It's been leaked, so it's on YouTube.
I'll have to check this out.
Yeah, check it out and grab the bat phone and call the ranch and tell them they need to pull it.
You know what? Those guys are pretty good up there.
Yeah,
I'm sure they probably
know about it already. Yeah,
so by the time you're listening to this, you guys out there, it's probably gone.
It's probably gone. But it was interesting to me. There was no start date. It just said coming this fall. The galaxy is not so far away, and I thought that was just a really cool tagline.
Yeah,
but,
we've got a couple of promotions for Cartoon Network now, so I don't know when those are going to start airing, but they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Promos.
Do you know when the series is going to start?
Is this secret, or are you trying to get something out of me? Because I'm not sure if it is or
I'll
not.
tell you, all we have going, and Matt, you'll start to realize with the Star Wars fan community the lengths that we go to
to pull things out.
Somebody had infiltrated a internal memo at Walmart for Walmart Corp of when certain dates were going to, certain dates in the whole
toy release.
Yeah, toy releases.
Yeah.
Toy releases, the DVD release, and there was a mention of I believe, first week of October. I want to say October 4th or something like that, 3rd or 4th, the first Friday in October, I believe.
Okay,
as a start date. Are we warm? Are we cold?
Honestly, I'm not definitely sure.
Okay,
I think you're warm.
Okay,
I think you're warm.
All right. And I'm thinking, it's just. As Star Wars fans, we're used to everything being a secret, and sometimes you're like, well, why is it such a secret?
Yeah.
I just want to set my DVR.
But you know what's funny about it is, though, that I'm in secret quite a bit myself.
Uh-huh.
I mean, really, we get our scripts, and they're like little Christmas presents. And when I get them, I get to read them and read one more episode into the Star Wars universe.
Right, you're kind of following along with the rest of us in a big way.
Definitely.
Now, Palpatine, I want to talk about real quick here. It apparently takes another Ian to play Palpatine.
That's right.
From Ian McDiarmid to Ian Abercrombie. And for those of you who don't know, Ian Abercrombie played Mr. Pitt in Seinfeld. Did you know that?
You know what? I think I did know that.
Did you watch Seinfeld?
I've watched Seinfeld, of course, like everyone.
Right,
I haven't
right,
seen every
right.
episode.
Okay.
Though, so.
All right. Well, what you got to do in front of
remember him.
If you in front of Ian, you got to get a Snickers bar and cut it and eat it with a knife and fork.
Oh, that was
his thing. Yeah.
Oh, Ian's a great guy. I'll tell you what, that man has some wonderful stories. I mean, he's just he's been working for such a long time, and he's a great actor, and he's got some really funny stories. So.
What we saw in Episode 3 between Anakin and Palpatine really is seduction. And I know for some fans it seemed that Episode 3 was a little rushed. In the sense that it seemed very abrupt.
Okay.
So obviously the Clone Wars was an opportunity to expand on that. What do we start to see? Do we start to see some of these seeds being planted with Anakin and Palpatine?
Here you go again, trying to get things out of me. And honestly, I'm trying to think back.
Okay.
Again, we've recorded so many, and they.
You have worked with Ian though.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
right.
I know him.
Okay. So Anakin has been with Palpatine.
I believe he's been with Palpatine. Yeah.
It's starting to sound dirty.
Hold on now. That's Can we cut that out?
Right.
No, he's been there. But again, we've got a whole 5 seasons, so I'm sure that there will be some of that mixed in there.
Okay.
I can't really think of one event right now that's happened in the series so far. Yeah, I don't think there's been any huge earth-shattering kind of event, but I'm sure we'll see some of that.
Mace Windu. I should mention. We talked about Count Dooku. Christopher Lee did the voice for the film. Now, he's not doing it for the series. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. It's another actor who... Yeah. Is it the same guy that did Zero the Hutt?
Corey Burton, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Wow, what a range this guy has. Oh, that's okay.
Oh, that would be my little cousin in the background.
That's cool. No, that's cool. That's fine. I love not being in the studio. This is great.
Yeah, she'll be watching the films here in a couple years. She's 4, but
excellent.
Yeah. Corey Burton is extremely talented. He's like I said. I mean, all these guys that I work with, I'm as a voice actor, I am in awe watching these guys do this stuff. And I mean, we've all heard Zero. What a fabulous voice.
Yeah.
And to go from something like that into this brooding Count Dooku as the evil of all evils is pretty versatile. Yeah.
Yeah.
To say the least.
It'd be interesting to see. Well, maybe you were there in the studio. I mean, there's some. Well, see, it was Christopher Lee, but I'm just wondering if these actors. I've heard like with Family Guy and The Simpsons. Oftentimes, these like Seth MacFarlane, he'll do conversations between 2 or more of the characters that he does, and he does them right there.
Yeah,
he does. It's not cut together. Have you seen any of that?
Well, I got to tell you, Dee, who does our clones, is extremely talented man. Each clone sounds the same,
right,
but a little bit different. Each one has their own personality, and to a little present here. Like I said, there's an episode that has to do a lot with the clones, and you're gonna get to see a lot of that going on.
All right,
it's a pretty cool thing to witness in the sound booth, him doing this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, a typical episode evolution from the time you get to the script to the time. I mean, what's it look like?
All I can really speak for is myself on the voice acting end. I know that they're in development, up at Skywalker Ranch, and Henry up there is the lead writer, and I know they. Write them out and get them approved by George. And I believe I heard Dave talking about George actually has his own ideas that he actually, has for scripts as well.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how long they go in the writing phase.
Mm-hmm. How long do you have the script before you have to go record?
Not long.
Yeah.
They usually ship it the day before. Maybe 2 days before. So I usually read over it once or twice, and by this time, like we talked about earlier, I know the character of Anakin, and we know where he needs to be. And again, we play with that in the booth a little bit, and Dave is there to kind of help out and direct, and so it's a quick session for the actors. It's a quick 4-hour session for an episode.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's
4 hours.
Maybe a little more, and then occasionally we'll have to come back in to do some pickup lines or whatnot, and maybe adjust some things. But it's fairly quick for us.
So how long do you go between episodes as far as the recording?
It all depends. It all depends. Sometimes we'll go and record, 2, or we'll record one episode and then some pickups from another one. And I don't know. I think as we go on, it's going to even itself out a little bit as far as when we record. But I think, roughly every couple of weeks or so, we're banging one out.
Okay.
So.
And does it, for you, as a voice actor, does it go on hiatus for you in the sense of?
It hasn't yet.
Okay.
This is my first animation, so I do a lot of on camera stuff as well.
Right,
I've done a lot
of course.
TV stuff. So this is kind of new deal to me. But so far, we've not really had a distinct hiatus like on camera does on TV.
Right.
We've kind of just been going through, and obviously it's been kind of messy behind the scenes with the whole movie, and I know that wasn't planned from the very get go.
Right.
So, but it's been a blast, and I'm happy to keep doing it, and we're having fun.
What's Dave like as a director?
Dave is an awesome guy. Dave is, talking about fanboys. He's a fanboy himself, and I think we all know that. And but he really is, man. You can ask him anything, and he will know. He will know what's going on. He will know what the writing on the wall in the cantina said. I mean, he's great for referencing like that. And he knows where these characters need to be and are going. And only Dave and George have it in their head where this whole 5 years is going.
Right.
But Dave is a really awesome guy. He's a genuinely nice guy. He's really cool to be around. And so when we go in there to record, it's a relaxed environment. Everybody's like family in there.
Right.
Dave, we go in there, we're laughing and having a good time. And it's, I can honestly say that everyone that I get to work with, I'm very lucky, is really cool. And
That's
Dave,
great.
is kind of at the head of all that. And so
we
all really respect him.
Can you think of a time where you're in a session and you needed a little bit more as far as maybe some backstory or something?
Always.
Yeah,
we all we have when we get the script and we know what's there, but it's very hard, on the voice acting end to know exactly where that line needs to be read, where energy wise needs to be, volume wise needs to be. And Dave is there to explain out each scene because he knows obviously where what it's going to look like on the animation side. So he'll tell us, okay, there's wind blowing, you've got heavy snow, you've got we're in the middle of battle here. You guys are actually swinging the lightsabers around. You're battling droids as you're saying this. So So we'll know. Kind of put some more energy in it. Or Obi-Wan is roughly 15 feet away, and so
wow. So I mean, that's interesting because you would need to know the environmental conditions and
it's
and all of that.
It's something when you watch you watch it, you don't think about all that stuff.
No, not at all.
How you need to know. Because they animate, I know, to our voices. So it is. You have to know all that stuff in order to make it right. And like I said, we'll go back in there and adjust things if the animation differs a little bit from our reads, and we'll kind of fix things up. But.
Well, as a voice, this is one of those kind of inside baseball questions, but I'm just curious. I mean, is it like being a singer in the sense that you need to take care of your voice? Do you need to rest your voice, or do you find...
Well, I think so. I mean, I guess that's a question for other voice actors as well. But for me personally, sometimes when we're doing like fighting scenes, or I'm having to yell out to Obi-Wan or something,
right?
There might be only several times that I can really do it and feel like I give something good because I start to just wear out. But, and Dee does a lot of that as the clones. He's got a lot of yelling, and the clones are always yelling at each other, and Rex is always commanding his guys around. So that's a good question for him. But yeah, I think there's some of that. You gotta kind of play it safe.
Right. What, Matt? Now that you're a fan and you're pretty familiar with the films, and what would you like the legacy of the Clone Wars series to be, as far as not just what fans think, but just overall where this fits in, and what do you want fans or people to get out of it?
I don't know. I mean, I guess each person can take their own whatever they want out of it, and no, I just want people to enjoy it. I want people to be able to tune in every week and see a new Star Wars story. And I can tell you honestly, man, that the stories are really, really good.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing from the people that have actually seen completed episodes that the series gets better than the movie. I mean, we all know that the movie was a couple of episodes kind of sewn together and needed to be seen on the big screen because the animation is gorgeous. But the stories get better, everything about it. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that, and I don't know. I guess I want people to be able to enjoy it. You know?
Right.
That's what it's all about. Just have fun with it.
Well, man, thanks for making Anakin cool again.
It's my pleasure.
And-
I'm glad to be doing it.
And thanks for being on the program. We appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks for having me anytime.
RebelForceRadio.